Hey, good evening, everyone. How are you doing?
Great.
Good. How are you doing with your fasting?
It's actually going really well, which is kind of surprising, but yeah, not bad. Although I do have to admit that I stayed up all night, did not go to bed until after 6 this morning, and then didn't get up until 2:30 this afternoon. So that helps. Right, I see lots of goods here in the chat. That's good. Before we get into some stuff about the website project, what kinds of questions are you having, or comments or frustrations or anything at this point? I know we're coming to the last couple of classes of the semester, and if you're taking other classes, I'm sure the course load's kind of busy and with work and life and all that stuff. Anything you need to get out now, this is your chance, one of them. I have a question in the chat about, did you grade the assignment? I have been reading the assignments. I have not put grades in yet. I like to read them all through and then go back and put the grades after I've read them. Just, it helps me to get into the mindset of grading. If I kind of read several of the assignments before commenting on any of them, I don't compare them against each other. I compare them against the assignment requirements, but sometimes it just takes a little bit to sort of get into the rhythm of reading that kind of material, and then I start getting the grade. So I don't know if I'll have a chance tomorrow to get the grades put in, but I know that I will have time on Wednesday. Okay, so we have a comment in the chat about working on a logo and coming up with a background. Yes, fun parts. Any other questions or comments? All right. Augustine, I'm not sure what your comment is in the chat. Okay, that's okay. I was like, am I missing something? Because it could happen. Right. I'll keep an eye on the chat to see if anything else comes up. Let's see, I should turn my camera off before I try to share screen. So. All right. So tonight we're focusing specifically on the website project, and our plan for the evening is to look at the whole project document that I've created for you. We will talk specifically about positioning statements because that was one thing on the homepage that was maybe not as intuitive or obvious. So I want to make sure that we look at that so that you can do what you need to do for that part of your homepage. We will be talking about the About page, specifically looking at some examples, and we'll be looking at examples of positioning statements as well. And we'll be looking at examples of different About pages. And then we will, obviously along the way have time for questions and answers, and you will be encouraged to do some of the work during our remaining class time. And we'll talk about the assignments that you want to have submitted and when. So that's the overview of what we're looking at this evening. And we've had a couple more people join, so I will ask again if there are any other questions or comments before I get into, or we get into the material for this evening. Okay. All right, so we do have an assignment document for the website project, and we can take a look at that. I see some of you are already here. As we talked about last class, for this project, you're creating a professional website that's going to showcase your ability to write professionally in a digital world. So this is kind of bringing together a lot of the different elements that we've been talking about all semester, with the kind of writing that you want to do, the style, the clarity, the brevity, and design elements that are important. And then specifically in the digital world, as opposed to some of the more traditional kinds of writing that we've been doing as well. And then also it's going to be functional in that you are trying to establish your credibility and your authority, your expertise, and help you, kind of further your career goals by getting yourself noticed. So to do this, I've asked you to use the free version of Weebly.com. And if you have a different platform that you would prefer to use, you can talk to me about that. And as long as it's something that I'm sure that I can access and will work for what we're doing, then I'm sure that I will approve that. I just want to know ahead of time so that I'm not blindsided by something that's not going to work. And one person has already talked to me about that, and that's been approved. So if you have something other than Weebly, please feel free to bring that up with me. That's weird. The participant screen just disappeared from my thing. Very strange things going on here. Okay, I got it back. Right. So your rhetorical situation, your purpose is to establish your credibility, trustworthiness, and likability, prove your expertise and authority in a field, and develop and maintain professional connections. So for some of you, you are kind of presenting yourself as someone looking for a career, looking to be established in a career field, trying to find employment. And others, maybe you are going it alone and you're setting up your own sort of, service or contracting business or something like that. You might have that mindset for what you're doing. So you have a couple of different ways you can approach this website project, but the purpose generally is the same either way. Your audience would be potential employers if you are using this as a way to seek employment, and or it could be potential customers if you are using this to promote a service that you offer. And then the context, of course, is either seeking employment or offering a service. So those things all kind of work together. You will want to explore more deeply who your audience is and what their expectations are. So because there's, several of you and you each have your own direction you're going, you have to dig back into some of the work that we've been doing and think about what we've asked about audience. So if you are seeking a particular job in, say, an accounting field, and then you would want to look at prospective employers. Where do you want to work? Where and what then can you learn about those employers to know how to present yourself in a way that appeals to those potential employers? And then the same thing with your service. If your audience is potential customers, who are those customers? What do they want? What do they expect to see? You want to have this kind of user-oriented experience rather than creator-oriented experience in your web creation, your website. So knowing your rhetorical situation makes it a lot easier to get going with the content. As we talked about last time, for your homepage, you need to have your name clearly stated. Viewers shouldn't have to look around to figure out who you are. They should be able to see your name easily. I have asked you to create your own logo. You can use canva.com for some good free logo options if you would like to. There are probably other ways to do that as well, but the one I'm most familiar with is Canva. Give yourself a tagline. We talked about how that is something you can pull off of your resume, especially if you did like your headline statement or your professional statement, summary statement that on your resume. And then the positioning statement we will be talking about in a few moments. So we're gonna not go into that right now. We are going to go to this document that's linked here and look at that as well. But basically your positioning statement tells your viewers who you are or who you serve, what value you offer, and how you or your service benefits a potential employer or client. And then your call to action is, where do you want your readers to go next in your site? What should they do? Some of the options would be navigating to a specific section, like, our about page in order to read your story, or to one of your inside pages to view some of your current work. Maybe you want to ask them to sign up for a newsletter. Like if you are offering a service or something, maybe signing up for a newsletter is an appropriate action that you would like people to take. Maybe you want to ask them to contact you for an interview, to discuss further your abilities and what you have to offer to a potential employer or customer. And in any case, no matter what you ask people to do, your site navigation needs to be obvious. It needs to be clear. People shouldn't have to be looking around to figure out, how do I navigate through this site? It should just be right there for them. Right. Any questions so far? Okay. We'll be looking at the about page in more detail, and we'll be looking at the document that's here. Your about page has to do a few different things. It needs to tell your story. So it needs to tell enough about you, about your path that you've traveled to get to where you are, to what you're seeking. It needs to communicate your value. So part of telling your story is humanizing yourself. And we've talked about how you want to do that in most of your professional writing, especially when you are seeking employment. You want to humanize yourself. You want the viewer, the reader, to not just see words on a page, but to see the person behind the words. And then you want to communicate your value. You want to translate your skills and knowledge into benefits for the reader. You want to include a quality photo of yourself or a video of you in action if appropriate. Again, if putting your photo on is not something you can do for whatever reason, just talk to me about that, so that I can make a note of that. I've had a person talk to me about not putting a photo, and for a very good reason. So I won't require that. You might want to do something different instead. Maybe you want to create some sort of an avatar, or use your logo in that place instead of a photo. But I want you to talk to me about that first, so that I can make sure that I have notes about that, and that we understand why you are not comfortable putting your photo on your website. And then you want to either include your resume or the information in your resume that potential employers or clients want to see. So it may not be appropriate for you to have your resume on your website, but the information telling about your experience, telling about your achievements, your accomplishments, that stuff, your education and qualifications, all of that should appear on your about page. All of the relevant stuff should appear on your about page. And that might be in the way you tell your story. There are different ways you can do that, but I would like to see that content somehow incorporated into your about page. Most of the templates that you can choose from, or the themes, I think they call them on Weebly, that you can choose from, include some sort of a contact page as an option. Any standard contact page will work. You should at minimum have an email address and a phone number. You may want to choose a contact form, especially if you are offering a service. A contact form is a really good thing to have. And there should be a pretty standard like template for that, widget kind of thing for that. For your email and phone number, I don't think it's a good idea to put the real information, like your actual email address and phone number, on this website that you're creating, unless you intend to actually use this website for real, for seeking employment or offering services after this class is over. So if you are creating this website solely because it's a requirement for the class, make up a name and a number, or an email address and a number, a phone number that look professional. If you intend to use this, further on down the line, go ahead and include your real information if you would like to, if you're comfortable doing that. All right. Then we come to the inside pages, and this is something we didn't really talk too much about last week. And so we do want to talk today about the inside pages and what's expected, required on those. One page that you have to have a minimum of 2 inside pages. One page needs to showcase a current project, something you're creating just for this page that demonstrates your skills, knowledge, and or proficiency. That could be, a video game walkthrough video or a user guide. It could be an infographic that is relevant to your field of work that gives some good solid information. It could be a series of short blog posts or maybe one longer blog post demonstrating your writing skills in the area that you are interested in writing in. We do have some people in this class that are interested in certain areas of writing and journalism. An article that you write would also be appropriate for those, pursuing writing related fields of employment and study. And then another thing could be an instruction manual. If you're going into some field where you might have to write instructions, prospective employers want to see that you are capable of doing the work that they would have for you to do. So choosing something that you're interested in and that prospective employers or clients would want to see as examples of what you can do right now, that's what you're looking for. There's, those are just a few of the ideas that you could come up with for one of your inside pages. Your other inside page, you should think of it as kind of a portfolio or a collection of other professional work. Maybe it's not directly related to what you're pursuing as your career, but it showcases your ability to do the kind of work that, like something similar that the skills will transfer. And it showcases your ability to, communicate clearly in writing and maybe also visual formats. So you could choose some of the work you've done in this class already. You could include work from your other classes in your field of study, or work that you do in your everyday job, if that's appropriate. Again, this is not like, I'm not telling you exactly what you have to have. You just have to have a sample that represents kind of the range of skills and abilities that you have. So I would like to see, and I didn't put that on here, so I'm going to do that right now. I would like to see 3 to 5 items. Okay. So that covers the content of your professional website. You have a home page, you have an about page, a contact page, and 2 inside pages. Obviously, you can do more than that if you would like to, especially if you think you would use this at some point for real. You may want to do more, or you may want to set yourselves up so that you could do more if you chose to in the future. But this is, these are the expectations that I have for the content. For design, this is basically what we talked about last week. You want to use a theme that's appropriate for your field of study or work. So, Weebly has all kinds of really lovely themes that would serve a variety of purposes. You want to choose one that fits what you're trying to do, what your field of study is, what your work is, what your service is that you offer. And you want to use that theme, and for most of you, there will be several options that would be good. My best advice is to not get hung up on choosing the exact right one. If there's one that you are leaning toward and it is appropriate for your field of study or work or service, go with it and just stick with it. Don't second guess yourself. You don't want to spend too much time on that part of the project. Once you do have your theme, you want to make your pages visually appealing. You want to use appropriate images. One place you can get some good quality images that are free use, whether they're photos or videos, you can get them at pexels.com. They have all kinds of things that you can use there. You want to use readable fonts and colors. So one thing you have to think of is the user experience. So the viewer who comes in does not want to have to struggle to read things. So using readable fonts and colors is very important, making sure that there is enough contrast between the font color and the background, making sure that the background is not busy, because if it's a busy background, it's really hard to read text on top of it. Making sure that you stick to fonts that are not too fancy and too creative, because those ones are harder to read. They may be, look pretty, but if you have to read them for a long time, readers just won't spend the time necessary to force themselves to figure out what's being said. And then your text size, you want to think about that as well, and making sure that it is a comfortable reading experience on both the desktop and the mobile versions. So you'll want to, you will want to check what it looks like on both desktop and mobile versions, to make sure that the text works and the design, the colors and everything work the way that you need them to work. You want to remember that you're creating shorter paragraphs. You do not want long blocks of text. People don't want to read long blocks of text. So you want to just have shorter paragraphs. You want to break up the material with headings and subheadings. Use bullet points where it's appropriate. Use white space to enhance readability. Don't be afraid of the white space, but use it. It's important to give people's minds and eyes a rest between elements on the page. And then you want to try as much as possible to limit the need to scroll. People will scroll for a little bit, but we have TikTok attention spans now. We're not going to just keep scrolling and keep scrolling and keep scrolling. We're just gonna be like, next. So try to limit the need to scroll. Some scrolling is okay. Endless scrolling is not really gonna work. And then your style, you want to be upbeat and conversational. You need to be informal, but you still need to be professional. You're still trying to put yourself out there as a professional person who has the skills and the qualifications and the experience to do a particular thing. And so you want to make sure that you are professional even while being informal. You want to be clear and concise with no extra words. You want to use strong action verbs. You want to limit the jargon. Some fields, some things, you're going to have to use some jargon, and that's okay, but you can't use all kinds of jargon all throughout. That limits your audience way too much. And then you want to avoid cliches. You just don't want to use them. And that is all of the material I have on the assignment sheet. So this is a good time for me to ask you, if you have questions, what other information you would like on the assignment sheet. What else can I help you with at this point before we go and talk about positioning statements and the about page? Okay. Seems like at this point I've given you enough information, but you can always let me know if you need more. Oh, okay. So there's a question there. Actually, I just realized that that is not right. It's Tuesday. It's Monday, April 18th. I put the wrong date on there. April 18th by 9:15 p.m. Yes, that's our final class session. And next week, I guess we can kind of skip ahead since that kind of came up in the chat. We'll just go ahead and skip to that part right now. We're gonna go. What? I can't do that. Okay, never mind. We'll come back to this. Okay, so next week, which is the 11th. Yes. So on the 11th, that day is going to be a work day. We're not going to have a regular class. And what I have is a sign-up sheet for you to sign up for a time to meet with me if you would like to. It is not required. It's encouraged, but it's not required. Some of you probably don't need to talk to me about your website or about anything else, and that's fine. If you do need to, you want to, you just want to check in for a little bit, I do have the sign-up sheet. First come, first served. Now, if you look at the sign-up sheet, you will see that there are not enough slots before the end of class for every single person who's enrolled in class. And part of that is, like I can't change time. Time just works the way it does. And yeah, so we've only got that amount of time anyway for class. But if all of these, because it's first come, first served. So if all of these spots get filled up, but for some reason, and you are left without a time slot, then you can put in a request in one of these empty spots for a different time. I will tell you that on the 12th, which is the Tuesday, I will not be available. I have to take my husband to Detroit to the airport. He's going to be on his way to Egypt to visit his family. So I will be I will not be available on the 12th at all. But on the 13th, you could request a time like on the 13th in the afternoon or evening, the 14th in the evening. And then if those times didn't work, but you still want to meet with me, just let me know what does work for you. And if it doesn't work, to put that on the form, send me an email. And I will gladly try to get you scheduled in. Yeah, so that's all I have to say about that. If you have questions, pop in with those. All right, so let's go back here.
Quick question about the website project.
Yes.
Just how do you want us to turn that in? Do you want us to convert that into like a PDF file and then turn it in, or?
No, that was a really good question. You will be submitting the link to your published website.
Okay, so we should be able to just extract the link and post it in Blackboard?
Yes.
All right,
And if
cool
you
deal.
want to kind of practice with that early, once you get your site up and going, and you want to practice with that early, let me know, because it's always a good idea to check that out.
Cool deal, thanks.
Yep. Any other questions? That was a really good one because I had forgotten to mention that. Okay. All right, if you come up with other questions, let me know. But right now we're going to go to the positioning statement examples. So the positioning statement is where you are telling who you are and what value you bring. What do you offer? And so I have some examples here from different businesses, a few different businesses, names that you most likely recognize, many of them anyway. I do not know why that got, I don't know what happened there. But somehow, okay. And then I have a sort of a template and a couple of examples of personal positioning statements. Those ones are a little harder to find. So we're going to look at these positioning statements and we're going to see what they look like. So with the business examples, we start off with HubSpot. And HubSpot's positioning statement is, since 2006, HubSpot has been on a mission to make the world more inbound. Today, over 100,000 total customers in more than 100 countries use HubSpot's award-winning software, services, and support to transform the way they attract, engage, and delight customers. Composed of HubSpot's CRM, Marketing Hub, Sales Hub, and Service Hub, HubSpot gives companies the tools they need to grow better. So we get a little bit of a time frame since 2006, which isn't, common on all of these, but we get the, kind of the mission that HubSpot has to make the world more inbound. And they don't really spend a lot of time telling us what that means, but we do get that they want to provide a way for other businesses, I guess, to attract and engage and delight customers. So they offer support through different kinds of marketing and sales and service. It gives companies tools to grow better. So if we were to read that on a homepage, we would get an idea of what HubSpot is aiming to do. For Coke, we get, for individuals looking for high quality beverages, Coca-Cola offers a wide range of the most refreshing options. Each creates a positive experience for customers when they enjoy a Coca-Cola brand drink. Unlike other beverage options, Coca-Cola products inspire happiness and make a positive difference in customers' lives, and the brand is intensely focused on the needs of consumers and customers. So whether or not we agree with Coke about making a positive difference in customers' lives, that is what they tell us they do. And that's what their goal, their mission is, to improve people's lives with their products. Amazon's rather short. For customers who want to purchase a wide range of products online with quick delivery, Amazon provides a one-stop online shopping site. Amazon sets itself apart from other online retailers with its customer obsession, passion for innovation, and commitment to operational excellence. So Amazon, I think Amazon so far is probably the most straightforward. But, Beauty Counter, one by one, we are leading a movement to a future where all beauty is clean beauty. We are powered by people, and our collective mission is to get safer products into the hands of everyone. Formulate, advocate, and educate. That's our motto for creating products that truly perform while holding ourselves to unparalleled standards of safety. Why? It's really this simple. Beauty should be good for you. Right, so that one's also pretty well straightforward. It's not filled up with jargon that, other people might be put off by. It's pretty straightforward statement. It gives the mission, and it gives the motto, and it gives the reason. And those are all things that any user, any viewer, reader could understand and buy into for the most part. And then we've got Thrive Market. This is the shortest one of all, I think. Thrive Market is an online membership-based market making the highest quality healthy, and sustainable products available for every budget, lifestyle, and geography. So they tell us exactly who they are and what they do. They're an online market that provides sustainable products at a variety of budget and lifestyle points. Apple, for individuals who want the best personal computer or mobile device, Apple leads the technology industry with the most innovative products. Apple emphasizes technological research and advancement and takes an innovative approach to business best practices. It considers the impact our products and processes have on its customers and the planet. And McDonald's, for individuals looking for a quick service restaurant with an exceptional customer experience, McDonald's is a leader in the fast food industry with its friendly service and consistency across thousands of convenient locations. McDonald's dedication to improving operations and customer satisfaction sets it apart from other fast food restaurants. So this one, McDonald's tells us, what they offer and how they are different from the competition. And it does so without putting down the competition. It just sets them apart from the competition. So for the business positioning statements, what are some of the things that you notice? What are some of the questions you have about them? What are some of the ways you think you can apply those to creating your own positioning statement?
Well, it looks like they're identifying their audience. So, and like to the people reading it. So they're like trying to sort, and this is something I learned, I don't remember where I learned it, but businesses don't want to waste their time on people who aren't interested in their products. They're like almost defining their audience for you. And if
Right.
you're not interested, you can just move on.
Okay, that's a good point. And that is something that you can keep in mind in creating your personal statement, your personal positioning statement as well. Not that you're telling people to move on, but that you're being straightforward about who you are and what you have to offer. So that somebody who wants someone who can do something different than you can know that ahead of time, and then they can move on to someone who maybe fits their needs a little better. Other things that you notice or questions that you have. Nothing. Let's look at some of the personal positioning statements. First of all, there's a template here with a couple of alternatives for two of the points. So a template, it really just gives you like a head start in knowing how to formulate your statement. You should not simply fill in the blanks and leave it at that. You need to kind of, make it your own. But you have a start with, I am a, and you fill in your blank there with X numbers years of experience in the whatever industry it is, you fill in that blank. For those of you who are just getting started, which is quite a few of you in the class, you're just getting started on these careers that you're pursuing. You maybe don't have the X years of experience, right? So you don't want to frame it that way. In that case, you could just start with I am and fill in the blank with what you want to be known for. If you want to be known as a writer in this, sports industry, then you want to say, I am a sports writer, sports journalist, or whatever, the appropriate language there is, and write about that. And then I have expertise in, if you don't have much experience, Maybe you don't feel like you have expertise in certain areas. So another phrasing might be, I help whatever group to understand or do something so that something else can happen. So you want to, maybe frame it that way, or, change those words a little bit to make it fit what you can offer. And then you want to share your strengths. What are the strengths that you're bringing with you that employers or clients might be interested in? And then what exactly are you trying to do? What's your opportunity that you're seeking? So we have two examples. One, I am a software developer with 3 years of experience in the technology industry. I have expertise in mobile communications, app development, and QA testing. My strengths include object-oriented programming languages and complexity reduction, and I was recently recognized for my outstanding compliance scores. I'm looking for an opportunity to turn my passion for web technologies into better software design that solves problems, exceeds expectations, and converts leads into loyal customers. So this example follows this template, but it doesn't read like it's following a template. It reads very naturally. It's not just the bare minimum word in a blank, but it's actually using those blanks as opportunities to share real information. And then we have another one that's a customer service oriented person. So I'm a customer service supervisor with 5 years of experience in the credit card industry. I have expertise in sales, service, and collections. My strengths include first call resolution and diffusing customer escalations, and I'm consistently recognized by management for my outstanding quality scores. I'm looking for an opportunity to leverage my credit card knowledge and my superior communication skills to inspire brand loyalty, create customer advocates, and make a meaningful difference. So, what are your thoughts when reading the personal positioning statements, and how do they compare to the company statements?
I would say that the personal ones are more like skills based, whereas the company ones are selling a product, more or less, or like an experience.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense, right? Yeah, so those who are selling something or offering a service are going to focus on that, whereas these personal positioning statements are going to focus more on the person and the skills and what the person has to offer. There's elements of both that could be useful in creating your own positioning statements, and I wanted you to see both because some of you are choosing to do this again as kind of the employment seeking purpose, and others may be choosing the customer client seeking purpose. And so you have both examples here of what you can do. If you're offering a service of some sort, then modeling your positioning statement after one of these brands might be good for you. But you may still want elements of the personal positioning statement in yours. And those of you who are, writing or creating your website with the purpose of seeking employment in your mind, you may find that focusing more using these personal statements is a better choice, but you might find some of the elements in the business ones useful as well. But in any case, your positioning statement needs to be something that when someone visits your homepage, they know who you are and what you're offering. Either you're offering yourself as an employee. That sounds kind of sacrificial, but you're offering up, your own skills and abilities as an employee, or you're offering a service that you provide and showing your qualifications for that service. Either way, your reader needs to know if they want to continue looking at your website based on what they're looking for. So the sooner they know who you are and what you're offering, the better. Any questions about your positioning statements? Okay. If you get into working on yours and you do have questions, please let me know. From the positioning statements, we're going to the About page. So with the About page, you are trying to, as we said before, tell us your story, tell us who you are, what you have to offer. And in this case, you're going into more detail than the positioning statement. So if we want to think about it in terms of the work we've been doing already, the positioning statement you can think of kind of as your abstract or your executive summary, where the About page is the actual report itself. Although you're not writing as long as a report. So I have a couple of statement examples that have been copied on here, and then I have a link to another one that's a business one. And so these are different people and what they write about themselves. And I wanted to point out that the second and third ones are written in first person, while the first one is written in third person. And so as we read these, it might be a good idea to think about why one might be better than the other, or which situations first person might be better than third person. We did talk about that very briefly last class because it was brought up in the About page video that we watched. And I just see in the comments here, can it relate to personal business? Do you mean a business that you're setting up yourself? I'm not sure exactly. Okay, yeah, then yes, it can. I just wanted to make sure I understood that before I answered and gave you wrong information potentially. Okay, so I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce her name correctly, but Natsai Audrey Chiesa. If somebody in the class actually knows, can you please let me know if I need to correct my pronunciation? But Natsai Audrey Chiesa is a founder and CEO at Faber Futures. She is a leading thinker on the transformative role design can play in the equitable development of consumer biotechnology. With over 10 years of experience co-developing multi-sector innovation strategies and shaping policy with global institutions, she leads a dynamic team that translates values and transforms systems across education, design, life science, and manufacturing industries. Over a decade of experimentation, Chiesa established novel design-driven processes and for bacteria textile coloration, which have been exhibited internationally, including Ars Electronica Design Museum, Pompidou Center, Vitra Design Museum, and the Science Gallery, Dublin. Chiesa is a member of the current session of the World Economic Forum's Global Futures Council on Synthetic Biology, contributing to the industry's roadmap for a world changed by COVID-19. A TED speaker, Chiesa has given talks on transdisciplinary innovation, including at Design Indaba, South by Southwest, BOF, I don't know that one, and Design Day, and has taught on biodesign programs at Central St. Martin's in London and the Bartlett School of Architecture. She was awarded the Index Award in 2019 and is named on Icon Design 100 2019, Evening Standard Progress 1000 2019. It's nice that one's to watch. That's weird. 2019 and OK Africa's 100 Women 2018. So that's our first one of a CEO. And then we have Emily Clare. I'm Emily, a 23-year-old actor from West Yorkshire. However, I'm currently living and working in Lincoln after becoming inseparable with the city where I studied my degree in drama. The name okay. That name is said like Bowie or Bowie. 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 It came from trying to make my Instagram name Bowie, but having to put an X in instead because the name was taken. David Bowie is my idol, so now you know. I'm obsessed with clothes, and my blog certainly shows it. I blog about what I wear, what I want to wear, and what inspires me. I'm a big fan of neutral tones, minimal styles, and clean lines. I also talk about my travels, cities, countries I've visited, and my top picks to get the most out of each place, not to mention the best places to grab amazing vegan food. I'm only really just getting started with my little blog, but I hope you enjoy it. Feel free to get in touch with me regarding collaborations, questions, or even for a chat. You can find how to contact me at the bottom of the page, Emily. Okay, so that's our 23-year-old Emily who's just getting started. And then we have Libby Peterson. I grew up in Minneapolis where I went to an immersion school that taught only in French. In 2013, I graduated from Indiana University School of Journalism in Bloomington, and I moved to New York. Did you see a bunch of stories up top from the photography magazine Rangefinder? I started there as an editorial intern the summer after college before becoming associate editor, features editor, and then senior editor. Currently, I'm the deputy editor of Suited magazine, an independent biannual that focuses on how culture, fashion, design, art, and music intersect with politics, identity, and global impact. And I'm a freelance reporter and writer for the New York Times. So before we look at the business one, we're just going to look at these three personal ones to begin with. So what are your observations? What are your assessments of the three? And what do you think you can take from looking at these to apply to your own about page?
I just feel like the third person sounds a lot more professional than the two first person views.
Yes, Ethan, I agree with you. The third person sounds more professional. What is it, just the fact that it's in third person, or is there something else about this that makes the third person one sound more professional? And for those who may be wondering, oh, third person, first person, I don't remember what those mean. The first one with the CEO is the one that's third person, where it uses she is instead of Emily and Libby, who both wrote in first person using I. So what is it that makes this third person one sound more professional?
Oh, I think the word choice has a lot to do with it as well.
Okay.
Um,
Mhm.
yeah, I just feel like the first person to use more personal language per se instead of business lingo and whatnot.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, I'd say the third person one is definitely more professional. The first person one sounds like they're more boasting about themselves versus the third person is, like business professional.
Okay. Yeah, so that's a good point there, that when it's written in third person and you see a list of accomplishments and achievements and awards and that, it doesn't sound boastful because it's written about, like, it's not the writer writing about themselves. It's, at least it doesn't read that way. It's written as if someone else is saying these things about the person. Whereas the first person one, and we can look at the Libby Peterson one as an example, because she does list several of her accomplishments, because she's writing in the first person, it can come across a little bit boastful, a little bit, kind of full of herself, I guess. And hers isn't so bad, but it has the potential to be that way. And then Emily Claire, I mean, it's clear that Emily is not trying to have a professional blog by any means. She's really seems to be doing this out of personal interest. But it might be that she's trying to make her living through this fashion blogging. So I'm not so sure about her. So I think one of the big things to take away from looking at these examples is that third person one, the first one on Natsai Audrey Chiesa, you get kind of a balance of the person and the person's skills and accomplishments. The other two, it's really focused on that person and what they think about themselves, and not as much on what their skills and abilities and accomplishments, what their value is to other people. Does that mean, though, that a first person about is always unprofessional? Is it possible to write in the first person and still maintain a professional style and tone? You guys are so quiet today. All right, well, let's just go look at yellow leaf hammocks and then we can daydream about days when we can actually use hammocks. All right, so this is a business. And this is what theirs looks like on the page. We can get a look at that. Our story. We not only make the world's most comfortable hammocks, but through training and sustainable job creation, we empower our weavers and their families to break the cycle of poverty and build a brighter future. The journey to relaxation. Finding a hammock you can truly relax in didn't happen overnight. It started with a chance discovery while on vacation and took a lot of hard work and a lot of hanging around to bring the softest, most comfortable, and thoughtfully crafted hammocks to your backyard. Transforming communities. Each individual yellow leaf hammock is hand woven with the utmost precision and care by the expert craftswomen of the Malabri tribe, the people of the yellow leaves in the hills of northern Thailand. Across 3 weaving communities, we are working to create jobs for mothers and build a foundation for positive community transformation. And we have a little call to action here with the learn more. We have an impactful kind of statement. We cut out the middleman and get money directly into the hands of our weavers. And then empowering women. Creating jobs for women is especially important for community transformation. Research shows that women will spend up to 90% of their income on health, nutrition, and education for their families.
Oh, come here. You come here.
And then we have another little call to action with this little button to read the story, and another statement. Turning women into breadwinners not only builds self-esteem, but improves their standing in the community and enables them to pool resources and improve infrastructure. How we got here. In 2011, while on vacation in Thailand, our co-founder Joe embarked on an impromptu motorcycle adventure that led him to discover the world's most comfortable hammock hanging outside a hut on a tiny island. The hammocks were unlike anything Joe had ever seen or felt before, and he knew he had to share them with the world. Bringing it home. He bought as many as he could fit in his backpack and headed home, ready to turn his vacation dream into a reality. Joe teamed up with his now wife Rachel to establish Yellow Leaf, bringing a curated collection of beautifully crafted, ultra comfortable hammocks to the masses while giving back to the original crafters of the world's most comfortable hammocks. Do good, relax. Doing good while relaxing? We can hang with that. Shop hammocks, so another call to action to do some shopping. And then we have their weavers, their team, and reading their stories, a call to action for that. And then we get to look at some of the hammocks and some photos. So what are your impressions, your thoughts about this about page? And yes, it's for a business, but could something like this work for an individual as well, and how?
It travels really well from the top to the bottom. Like it flows well,
Mhm.
so it keeps you reading,
Okay.
which is important.
Good point there. That it flows very well and you just keep reading, which is what they want you to do. Other thoughts that you have, let's see.
They made good use of the white space and included good pictures to represent what they're talking about.
Yes, exactly. There's plenty of space on the page without being too much space. It gives the eyes and the mind an opportunity to relax before focusing on the next thing. The pictures are perfectly appropriate for the context. You know, you've got the journey to relaxation and you've got someone just hanging out there with their feet, you know, headed toward this beautiful landscape in the background. It's very relaxing photo. And then transforming communities, they have the photo of a family. And then just the empowering women and showing one of the weavers that they have. You know, every photo pairs perfectly with the section that it goes with. And it flows, as was mentioned, the whole thing flows very well, very nicely from beginning to end. Lots of good white space, good images. What are some other things that you notice that set this apart from a lot of about pages that we tend to see.
The paragraphs are nice and short, and
Yeah,
it's not like a super long story that you
yeah,
feel like you have to read to get all the way through.
yeah. The paragraphs are really, you can take them in very easily and you don't feel overwhelmed by them. And they each have a heading, which is nice to have, to know what this paragraph is going to be about. So each of the paragraphs has a heading that helps us just kind of keep going through. Any other thoughts that you have? The font is really clear to read. Yes. This is an example of a really good, simple font, good color, plenty of contrast between the color and the background, even though the background's not a stark white, which is nice because having this more creamy background is a little bit easier on the eyes than a stark white background would be. And so that also contributes to that peaceful, relaxed feeling that Yellow Leaf Hammocks wants us to have as we're reading, because they want us to want that relaxation so that we will click on the button to shop hammocks. One thing that I appreciate about this is that their story of the company is kind of woven into the story of the people, the weavers, and the community. And so it's not just all about the company, like we went to Thailand and we did this and we got these hammocks and blah blah blah, but it's bringing in the focus on the people who are creating the hammocks, just as much, even more so than the person who started the company. And I think that's a really nice way to share all of this information. So this is a company, it's a business website, but is this kind of style, would this work for an individual? Could it work for an individual? Maybe, maybe not. I think it would depend on who the individual is and what else they're putting, what the story is. The other thing to mention here is that this is a first person about story. We, is first person. This is an example of a first person about page that is professional. So it can be professional to use first person if you do it in the right way, if you are really mindful about the way you present your story in first person. So if you're going for a standard example, like the one about Natsai Audrey Chiesa, and you're just going to put, a pretty straightforward, she's got 2 paragraphs here. Third person is a great way to do that. If you are going to do something a little more like the Yellow Leaf Hammocks story page, about page, first person might be a good option. You just want to make sure that you're maintaining a professional manner throughout. Any questions or concerns or comments that haven't been shared about this? Right. Well, in that case, the assignments that you want to be working on are your about page. You want to be writing your about page. We lost somebody. You need to create your draft and submit that as a Word or PDF document by Thursday. And then your inside pages, you want to be working on those. You want to have one of those pages drafted by Monday. And remember that Monday, we're not going to have a regular class, but we will have the meetings that you can sign up for. And, you know, you can ask questions, you can share what you've been working on, so I can look at it and see how things are going. But that's the plan. And then the 19th, we will have a class to wrap everything up, and you will submit your links to your websites by the end of that class period. So we're coming up on the end here, guys. I am going to continue reading your reports, your formal reports. Yeah, the 18th of April. Okay. So I'm going to continue reading your formal reports at this time. And I encourage you, if you are not, especially if you're not very well disciplined or you just have too many things going on, I encourage you to stay in this meeting and get your about page drafted or or outlined at least. Use the time that you would have in class. Like I mentioned last week, because of the nature of this project in a face-to-face class, you would all be working. I would be wandering around, talking to you, looking at what you're doing, answering questions, helping you with things. You know, obviously that's harder to do in a Zoom situation, but I'm going to be sitting here working, and the Zoom meeting is going to be open. And so I do encourage you to make use of this time so that you don't find yourself in a bind later on and realizing you don't have enough time to get this done before it needs to be done. Have someone proof our site, or will this just be done by you? So on the 19th, we'll start off, the 18th. I keep saying the 19th. I don't know why I keep saying the 19th. I apologize for that. Anytime I say 19, just mean 18. On the 18th in class, you are going to meet with, you'll do a mini peer review. You'll have time to do revisions, and then you'll be able to submit your link. The nice thing though is that submitting your link by the end of class on the 18th, sorry, on the 18th, does not mean that you can't make any more revisions. So it will take me the rest of that week, really, at least, to go through all of your websites, which means you can still be making some revisions to them during that week. And then if you make them, and just let me know that you've made them, then I can be looking out for that as well. And also, don't forget, you can use the Language Arts Tutoring Lab people. So you can have them look at, a particular page or pages of your website and help you identify things that need to be revised, reworded, or whatever. And if you do meet with them, make sure you let them know that you want me notified so that I can make sure that you have credit for that. Any other questions or comments or concerns right now? Okay. I invite you and encourage you to stay on the Zoom and work on the pages that you need to work on, specifically your about page, maybe working on that positioning statement for your home page. That way you can ask questions if they come up. You can have me look at things if you want me to, and I will just be here working on reading more of those technical reports and starting to get some grades in on those. Right,
Good to go.
that's all.
Awesome. Have a great night.
Take care.